controversial.
That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish it. It must finish it.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab, eats a right hand, another right hand, and he goes down. Oh my goodness!
The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend. He is the champion of the world.
Good evening, hello and welcome to another edition of Raps on TV. We are back after an exciting weekend in boxing. We had a British fighter give the fans an exciting contest and we witnessed the crowning of a young world champion in great style. I'm here with our resident Inam. Inam, you want to say hello?
Hi fight fans, it's Inam. Thank you for everyone that's dialed in. We had a fantastic weekend of boxing with James DeGale leading the UK for a unification fight. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out, but what a fight it was.
Gary?
Absolutely nice to be here, guys, once again. Action-packed weekend. What a fight. I mean, what a fight to start the year with, eh?
Yeah.
Boy, and we've got more to come. But there was some rounds that left my mouth open. I thought the fight would be good. I never thought it would be that good.
Yeah, totally.
It'd be a bit of a push to say it's a special, but there was a couple of special rounds. I marked on my scorecard. I think the fifth round was especially special.
Good. All right, so we're going to get into that. So good weekend of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But listeners, we have a special guest in the studio with us today. A young trainer making his name in the world of boxing. Straight from the Barclays Centre, we have Jimmy Mack Jr. from Team DeGale. Jimmy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Just getting over the jet lag, so I'm a little bit tired, but yeah, I feel all right.
You're feeling good. So, of course, you had one of the best seats in the house.
Yeah.
Tell us and the listeners what you felt about the fight immediately after in terms of the result and the performance.
Yeah. When the fight was going on, it was not easy to watch. It was very brutal, very intense, but I thought, like, it was one of them fights. It was what you liked. Yeah. It was like, was it James's clusters and flurries, or was it Badu Jack's like accuracy, and he was, you know, he was pressuring and shutting that gap down. And then going into the last round, I thought to myself, out here in America, like, a lot of the rounds are close. I was thinking they're going our way, but you never know. 3 American judges and an American referee. Are we really going to get it? And obviously the last round with the knockdown, I was thinking, oh no, what's going to happen here? Is it going to go the other way? And then when it was a draw, I thought to myself, do you know what? Like, if he'd have stayed on his feet, he'd have been WBC world champion. Yeah. But at the same time, on a Mayweather show with 3 American judges and an American referee, I thought, you know, a draw at that time, you know, was a fair result.
Yeah, I mean, what did I say to you guys last week? I said, and I tweeted it, I said that there's so many people, because obviously there's been this whole debate and argument about James's failure to do the 12 rounds completely. And I think, and that the fact that he fades late, and or sometimes he just loses concentration mid-fight. And I thought that's what happened around the 5th round. I thought that's what happened mid-5th round. But I said that he can't let this fight be tight against a Mayweather fighter on a Mayweather show. So when they said draw, but you know what? I scored it like a judge. I scored a round and I never looked at what I'd scored that round previously again. And you know when I scored it at the end and people went nuts, I scored it 115, 111 to James because the flurries for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, Badu had the big round, I think it was the 8th round when he had James reading on the ropes a bit. Was it the 8th round?
I think it was the 8th, yeah. He started to come on strong,
But that's still, I spoke to Spencer Fearon about it. We were debating about it today. And Spencer had it a draw, but he said he could easily have seen it for Jack. Yeah. But I said, when he had the big round against James, did he have James's backside on the floor? And he said, yeah. He said, no. I goes, well, it's a 10-9 round. As big as a round is, unless a man touches down, judges don't score it 10-8. Yeah. So everyone can say, oh, well, that's a big round. It was a big round for Jack, but it was a convincing round. It was a momentum round because he did gain momentum. But he didn't put James over. So it was one. So they both had 10-8 round each. Yeah. And then in those middle rounds, I had some guy tweeted me and he said he gave from round 5 till what was it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
3 rounds in a row.
3 rounds in 4. I said, you're mad.
Yeah.
I said, you're mad. There was easily flurries going on where you could say that
Very
James.
close.
There was one round. The fifth round was 10-9 for me. The other round, the next round, the other way. Then the next round was James. Then it was the other way. That's how close this fight was.
Perfect. And what about you?
Yeah, I mean, like leading into the fight, everyone was going on about how it's going to be such an easy fight for James. I mean, Eddie Hearn made a bit of a overstatement, I think. When he said, I think he probably put James under a lot of pressure by saying something like, "I think he's going to win every single round." I don't think there was any need for that, to be honest. And so when the fight started, it was very, very different. I think that statement had to set an expectation that it's going to be quite an easy fight for James, and it wasn't. It was far from it. What was James's feelings after he finished the fight? What was he saying? How did he feel about the fight?
Well, the first thing he said to me is, "Where's my teeth?" And I said, "They're in my pocket, so don't worry about it." But it was actually a bridge, and it was coming loose anyway. And the dentist went, "Well, you're going to have this done." And he went, and I know what he's like. He's like, "Nah, I'll be all right."
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets back to the changing room, and he comes back in, and he takes his drink, and he's like, "I don't really know how to feel about this because I wanted that green belt so bad, so bad." But at the same time, like Eddie come in and said, "James, I don't think you realise what this fight that you've just had has just done for your profile. Your stock has risen by 5 times the amount." So he said, when you look at it like that, people are giving you ratings now. They've always said James DeGale is a pretty boxer, but what's he going to be like in a dogfight when he's got to get off the floor? He showed everyone just how big his art is and how.
So my question to you now, also. How happy are Team DeGale from a technical aspect, bearing in mind the game plan going in? Was the game plan to stand and trade sometimes? Was the game plan also... I must admit, I was a bit alarmed at the way that he kept squaring up with that, when he was going from a southpaw. He wasn't even shifting. It wasn't like Golovkin where he goes right onto the other foot and shifts completely his weight, which James can do. For some reason, he seemed to square up, which made him vulnerable, which there's no made him. He made himself a lot more vulnerable than he ever has been against the second most improved super middleweight in the world. Yeah. So... How did Team DeGale feel about that, and how did you try and adjust during the rounds? Just
watching it from the start. Obviously, the knockdown in the first round was a massive start, and then out of the first 6 rounds, watching it back on the telly, especially not at the time because you're so drawn into it. I scored James winning 5 out of the first 6 rounds, and obviously as the fight was going on, Badu Jack. He come out half sort of like on his back foot, but once he got put down that 10-8 round, his whole game plan completely changed. And to keep Jack on the end of a jab was obviously one of the parts of the game plan. You've got to have a good jab. But at that level, you can't just keep these top fighters off just with a jab. You can't just jab him and think
you've got to get respect.
He's going to come through that. He's going to come through that. So he started doing that. And he perforated James's eardrum.
He's a hard man.
He lost his tooth.
Is it true that he lost it the week before in Fifth Street?
Yeah, so it come out then and then it cemented back in.
I saw David A.
I said to him, he should get his money back because the cement weren't that good. But he still got it. But it threw him. Then middle rounds, rather than being right now, what have I got to do now? He was like, I've lost. He's not my teeth out. He's not my teeth out.
Really?
So it was like. He's fighting with himself, and he's not my teeth out. He's not my teeth out. So he was battling with that, and it threw him for a couple of rounds. And they were really the rounds that sort of Badu Jack started to come back into the fight. And I think Badu Jack's a confidence fighter. Once he starts getting his confidence and momentum, then he starts becoming more dangerous.
We've seen that before with the Durrell fight.
Yeah,
we saw it with Groves. And now he's got Louis Delvaux, who I was telling you guys last week. I mean, me and Spencer sparred with him years ago when me, David, Adam Booth and Kathy Brown, we all went out to Miami. We sparred with him, and he was such a good coach then because he was coaching his sister. So I knew what you were facing. You weren't only facing a good fighter that had been trained by Eddie Mustafa Mohammed. Louis Delvaux had taken it over. He'd taken it to another level and got a bit more out of him. Definitely got more out of him,
Yeah, I'm just following on from that. We've got a couple of Twitter questions that have come in.
No problem.
Jimmy as well. And just Rachel, what we're just talking about, we've got Lindsay Jane who's asking, do you think the fight should have stopped immediately when his mouth guard was not knocked out so he could be put back in?
Well, do you know what? It's a funny one. I thought that at the time, but they normally, when the fight's going on, they normally wait for a little break in the action and they'll go, right, that's it, like come over, wash it out, put it back in. But there was none of that. It was that James was in there carrying on fighting. Like, he didn't even look at all concerned. He was literally, I'm fighting. And then I think when there was like a little clinch, then they brought him over to the corner and it was put back in. But 9 times out of 10, when the Shield does come out, they take you straight over to the corner and put it back in. But because they was fighting, and the referee took a clump as well,
he was really a bit worried.
He probably weren't rushing to get in the way of taking any more shots.
He didn't take that punch too well. He was going down. His producer didn't hold him. That guy was going down.
He was still. Do you know what? Like, it's a funny one. It's a good question because you can see it from both ways. When a fight's going on, when that momentum's going, you just, do I break it? Don't I break it? So I suppose whatever is going through the referee. Some referees would have took him over. Some referees would let it go. I suppose it just depends what the referee was thinking.
So, guys, just on that, we've got a bit of a busy line. So we're going to open up the phone lines. So to all our callers, we're going to do this interview. We're going to be speaking to Jim, and we're going to open the lines throughout the time. So I'm going to come out to 066. Coming out to caller 066.
Hello, how's it going? It's George from Nottingham.
Hi, George. How you doing? Thanks for calling in this evening. First time caller, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
I'm doing very, very well.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the support.
Mate.
Have you got a question or a statement?
Yeah, and what it was, I was just watching the fight the other night on Saturday, and fantastic atmosphere in Brooklyn, in the arena. Very on top and very intense. Mm-hmm. And just watching James, I was thinking that performance really set his legacy. Like he's pronounced. He could be maybe as big as maybe Carl Crotch, Mikhail Kessler, or an Andre Wall of the division. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy Mack?
Yeah, it was a defining fight in New York. Obviously, unification fights don't happen often, and when Joe Calzaghe boxed Jeff Lacey, that was his defining moment. Frotch had it when he boxed Kessler. There's been some big unification fights, so it was definitely like a defining sort of fight. But the atmosphere out there was proper. Yeah, like he had his boys and and then we had our lot over here, and it was just good banter back and forth, and it was just a.
I loved the pre-press conference. James, when they give him the tiara, he handled it unbelievably well.
Yeah,
they must have been so shook by that because you could see they were trying to rile him, and he was just like, "Yeah, I love it,"
Yeah, 9 times out of 10. I mean, you see it when he was a little earlier on in his career. He used to bite at things like that and used to. But now he's just listen. If you laugh at yourself, then they can't say nothing else.
That was George. He disarmed them straight away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, George, thanks for the question. We're going to go out to another caller now. So we're going out to caller ending in 269. Caller 269. The floor is yours. Hello.
Hi.
How
Jason,
you doing?
I'm sorry.
Hi. You say Jason?
Yeah, Jason.
How you doing, Jason?
Yeah, good.
Question or statement for us?
A bit of both. I'd just like to congratulate James DeGale on his win, anyway.
His draw, mate.
His draw.
Sorry. To be honest with you, it was more of a win, I personally thought.
I understand your point.
Seriously, the fact that he got dropped to the last round and he came back up and he still was fighting hard.
He finished well that round.
But, in his interviews before, he was saying that he was, his corner, he wanted his corner to go hard on him. And, around the 6th, 7th round, he came out strong again. And what was said to him,
I guess that's a
during the break?
Yeah,
when he came back out.
Yeah, so
thanks, Jason.
At the start of the fight, when the fight started just warming up into it, obviously James had the knockdown early, and he put them early rounds in the bank. So really, it was just about keeping him switched on, stay focused, do not switch off for a second. And a couple of in the middle rounds when Badou Jack started to come sort of back into the fight. My dad really read the riot act. I can't really repeat a few of the things that was said.
You can if you wanted to be honest.
It was very emotional in the corner.
Hairdryer.
Yeah, and just and James responded to it because. I mean, my dad and James, they've got such a brilliant bond.
Yeah, you can do that. He could talk to him that way because he'll get the right response.
Yeah. And sometimes
some fighters,
it's very hard to when you're with these boys days in days out, you become very close with them. So when they're in there in a fight like that, it is hard to watch. But sometimes you've just got to really, just give them that
Tough
kick
love,
to
tough
just
love.
yeah.
And you know, you spoke on about that and the relationship between your dad and DeGale, and they've been working with each other for a long time. And we've been speaking about loyalty in the boxing game.
Yeah.
So I do think it's something that is really good to see. To
It
see
is so
a
good to
champion
see, yeah.
that, to be honest, we said last
Yeah.
week he is the number one in the division. He's got a good camp around him. That helps keep him focused. You know, one of the things that I will say about this fight. So, okay, I'll say I scored it a draw. I'll go into the reasons later. But
that's it,
I have to say I'm massively impressed with the strength and conditioning, because the later rounds was a place where we were all worried for DeGale potentially. But I thought 10 and 11, he
Yeah, he
boxed
dug in.
fantastically. I felt that he switched his
I
stance
gave
a
him
lot
those
easily.
rounds.
I gave
I
him both
scored
rounds.
in those rounds.
So to me, 12th
You know,
round,
yeah.
he was winning by 2
Yeah.
rounds. And I thought, as long as he doesn't get a knockdown,
And that's what
and then he
happened.
gets the knockdown, I was like, no!
Oh, don't.
It's just when you think there can
was watching
be
it on
no
TV,
more
imagine
drop.
being there.
You know, because normally in a 12th round it goes one or two ways. You just watch a fight. Sometimes you can think, right, he's not coasting, but there's that momentum where you know who's going to win. He's got control of the fight. But it wasn't that in this case. It wasn't like a Ward Gatty 12th round, but it was somewhere in between. There was something going on, and then boom,
It was.
and you know, it was a legal shot. He did look shook, and then
Yes.
the way he came back at the end of the round.
that just a lapse
that's
of
how-
concentration?
That's how champions finish. rounds.
Exactly.
That's how they
the
finish fight.
knockdown. It was like, I think if I watched it back a few times, and James is known to switch.
Yes.
And that last round, obviously, where it's the last round, you're going to be a little bit tired.
Yes.
As he's switching, a
Exactly.
shot's caught him,
Yeah.
and he's gone back.
Yeah.
And he said after, it was a good little shot, but I've been hit with a lot bigger shots in the fight.
yeah, but then it's
a
the 12th round,
yeah.
isn't it?
And
It's
he
the
said, I've
12th
gone
round,
back,
yeah.
and I thought,
Yeah.
what's happened there?
Yeah.
Like,
So during the fight, there were times where he was up against the ropes, and that wasn't a good position for him.
Yeah.
But I felt with that knockdown, it was like he thought the ropes were there, because all of a sudden his body just dropped. So it wasn't like he's taken a punch and he's like his legs are wobbled. His legs were fine.
Yeah.
He got straight back
No,
up.
I thought, no, to be honest with you,
Yeah?
I thought if you watch it, he did look a bit shook.
Yeah?
He did look a bit shook. It was a good shot.
Yeah.
You got to remember, it's 12 stone. He's moving into him, shifting. Badu Jack's 12 stone. That's
Yeah.
near enough 24 stone hitting you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let's keep it real. That's what happened. It was a good shot. It was
Yeah.
a legal shot, and Jack had been looking for it. He found it. you
But
know.
he was one of those ones that I didn't feel was probably the standout punch, because it wasn't the most standout punch that during the fight. Or I've known DeGale's been hit with harder punches.
Yeah,
you know,
didn't catch him clean, did he?
Yeah, so it
It's
was,
on
but
top
it
of the
wasn't.
head.
It was.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
top
good.
of the head,
So yes, I think in terms of the training, strength and conditioning really worked. What was you focusing on during that strength and conditioning? I mean, you know, what techniques or exercises?
it was just
or
basically
areas?
like all round, just strength work and stuff. But basically, because James had, you probably know, he had a couple of injuries for years, and he's never really done like strength and conditioning based training. And he had an operation, and he had a Gilmore's groin problem. And he's always said, like he just said before, that bit felt weak, like in my legs
Yeah,
and
it
that.
would
He
do,
said,
yeah,
and when I'm moving and stuff
Yeah.
and switching, he said, like, it just don't feel comfortable or whatever. So he started, like, he's done it since like summer last year or whatever. And it made a big thing in his mind as well. And that's a big thing for a fighter, getting in there. If you're mentally in your mind thinking, I feel good now, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was different as well. Sometimes when you do things all the time, you know what's coming and this, that, and that. Sometimes it's nice to just have a little switch up and just
Because
try
this
and
was
do
the
things
first
different.
fight he'd actually brought in a strength and conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah, and
amazing.
And normally
Amazing.
James eats well
Yeah.
after training, like his
Yeah.
mum Diane does all his cooking, so he eats well. But this camp, he was being given things by
Yeah.
a nutritionist where they know exactly
Yeah.
what
going into his
mad
body.
foods,
And
just
it's one of the
mental
best
foods,
food,
things that
Things that put the right minerals
yeah,
back
it was
in.
all
yeah.
it was all just little things
Vitamins,
that come in the
yeah.
pots and that, and he was just yeah,
He was
and
enjoying
you
it.
could see you
Yeah,
could just
mate,
see by
when
the
I
shape
saw
of
him
him.
at the weigh-in, I was so confident. I
Yeah.
thought this could be a stoppage, but then I forgot that how good I got carried away. I wanted to go.
Yeah.
You see, sometimes I've got to always remember, and I say this to people on Twitter: stop being a fan and be an analyst.
Yeah,
but then again,
yeah.
if they
It's
weren't
difficult
fans,
though,
we
right?
weren't fans, we wouldn't love this game.
Precisely.
You know,
You've
because
got
a
to be
fan
passionate.
is a short word for fanatic, isn't it?
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's
And
why
it's
we love
difficult. That's what makes us stay up to 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
screaming at the TV when our champions are up there.
I've been there many times, up in the middle of the night cheering on Brits. And,
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to the phone lines. We've got another caller. So a caller ending in 918. 918, the floor is yours. Hello.
Hiya, it's Karina. Hi.
Hi, Karina.
Karina, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're like a resident now.
Yeah, appreciate you calling in.
It was funny, you were just saying about recovering from the jet lag. It took me about 3 days recover from not going to bed till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no. Well, I'm glad. Did you enjoy the fight, though, yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, I enjoyed the fight, and I enjoyed the fight before it as well. I mean, that was cool.
Gervonta Davis,
he's special boy.
Two fantastic fights. That kid is going to be some prospect. Cracking me.
Yeah.
What
was
yes, I did, and I was like you, Danny. I had it a draw up. I had him 2 up after 11. So I was the same. I was just, when he went down, I was just gutted because I thought he's got this in the back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, so thanks for calling, Karina. We love the support. Keep sharing it and keep listening. Keep tuned in.
I just want. Could I just ask a quick question? Because I know you've got a lot on the line, but I just wanted to check about now. What's the position now with James? I assume that obviously he needs to recover from being quite battered and bruised, and he won't be ready to fight again maybe till early summer. Is that right?
Well, he can have 3 or 4 days off, as the old man said. No, you're only joking. No, he's going to have a little bit of time off now. Obviously, with if he'd have got the belt Saturday, then obviously his next fight would have been Callum Smith straight away because he's a mandatory. But I was
going to ask that. So obviously, that's it. Callum will fight for WBC now.
Callum will now, Daryl now will then for the WC, presumably then.
Yeah, Badu Jack's vacated it, so now he'll box Anthony Durrell, it looks like.
Anthony Durrell, yeah.
And it looks like James's moves right now are literally non-existent. Like, literally, I couldn't tell you what's going to happen now. Literally, he's going to cut. I'd imagine he'll definitely be boxing back here in the UK, definitely.
And he'll stay at super middleweight. He won't chase anything at light heavyweight yet.
100%, definitely stay.
We've got Groves fighting for the WBA belt as well. I mean, if he wins WBA belt, that'd be a great indication as well.
Let's do it.
Groves DeGale too.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Karina, thanks for your call.
Thank you, Karina.
We're going to move to another caller. So we've got a caller ending in 540. 540. The floor is all yours. Hello.
Hello. Jimmy back?
Yes.
Hello, Jim.
You all right, mate?
Yeah. Just a question, really. What is the chances of James fighting Groves again?
Sorry. Hello. We didn't catch your name there, caller.
Oh, sorry. My name's Tommy from Walthamstow.
Hi. Nice to meet you, Tommy, and thanks for calling in. So we're going to put you on mute, Tommy, but we've got the answer coming up from Jimmy. Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, obviously, George Groves is fighting, it looks like, for the WBA super title. Mm-hmm. So, providing obviously he wins that fight, then I can't see no reason why him and James can't get it on again. Definitely, like it's a massive fight. Everyone knows the history. They know they don't get on. Yeah. And I'm sure both of them are willing to do it again. 100%. Definitely.
I mean, if you look at their careers now, that's a massive money fight for either of them. Yeah. You know, there'll be belts on the line. Personally, I'm not saying it because you're here, but I think DeGale will beat him. I think Groves is a strong fighter. Yeah. I think he would need a lot of help with his coaching in terms of to be able to deal with the skill that DeGale's now got in his movement.
I spoke to Shane only a few weeks ago. I was down at the Haymaker gym, and as always, you know, he is going to be confident. He is confident. They think they've seen something in James that they can exploit.
Don't forget, George Groves is beating him in the amateurs as well. You know, so he just might have to get his number.
Decisions, isn't it?
Like,
you know, it's a weird one because before the Durrell fight, you know, James had been plateauing, hasn't he? And that, for me, when everybody says this fight is his coming out fight, ironically for me, he doesn't win that Durrell fight. This is not happening. The other night doesn't happen. Of course. And as I said,
he was a good fighter.
He's a good fighter. And the amazing thing about that fight was that the round that James dropped him, he was losing big.
Yeah, he got cut. Got cut in that round.
So that sort of turned things around. And I've known Georgie many years. I helped Adam Booth coach him as well. You know, obviously I assisted Adam Booth at the time. And there was a time when I really thought George was going to be the elite. And I don't think he's far off it. Yeah. But I do think that the wars with Carl Froch, he's got to prove that he's totally come back from that. Because in fights where we've seen him since, you know, and with all due respect, something's been missing. Yeah. Something's been missing. I'm just wondering if it is the Froch fights where James has been flying, but now James has had a war. And I mean, you know, God willing, we recover from that. He'll recover from it. But those wars are in the bank as a war.
Yeah, and not to go off topic too much, but the Gutnick fight, if you remember, he put Gutnick, the German guy, in hospital towards back in the last year. So he's definitely a tough fighter. I think for me with Groves, other than the Jack fight, he's looked okay. I think he's looked good. But I think also that, I don't know, I just look at him, I think he's getting older. He's doesn't have the same intensity around the rings and in the power. So I'll be interested to see that fight if it gets made. But
styles make fights, and George in his head will always say that James's style suits him. It suited him in the amateurs, it suited him in the pros. You know, where James's momentum wasn't enough because James was coming on. In the last, it's funny. It's ironic. Everyone talks about him fading. He was actually coming on.
Yeah, very true. So just going back to the fight on the weekend, we know obviously the Mr. Money Man Mayweather got in the ring and said it was a bad decision, felt it's a robbery against his fighter. Tell us about that and how did the atmosphere turn once that you guys were in the changing rooms and that evening. And what are your thoughts on the Mayweather comments?
Mayweather got in there and just said whatever he said. I mean, listen, you can't say that was a robbery, because it was one of them fights. It was what you liked, whether it went that way or that way, or it was a draw. It was one of them fights. It was never a robbery, and I think the crowd let him know that it weren't a robbery because the boos just echoed around the ring. But after that, like when we went back to the hotel after the fight, it was about 4:30 in the morning, and he turned up like with all his team or whatever, and he come in and spoke to James and said, look, I didn't mean to disrespect you. I think you're a brilliant fighter. So he come round. He must have gone away from that and just thought, you know what, I shouldn't have said that really. And in credit to him, he come round and said fair play.
Because they got three champions, haven't they? They've got Jack,
they got Davis now.
And they've got the other kid who won the lightweight title. Is he still champion?
I don't know that.
Nicked the title off of. Remember, he won it on points.
Yeah, the third guy I'm not familiar with, but I think
Mikey.
No, he's lost it. Mickey Bay.
Mickey Bay.
Yeah, no.
He's lost it now.
No, he's not got the belt anymore.
So it's two of them.
No surprise.
Gavriel hasn't got a belt, has he? Gavriel.
No.
So I mean, obviously I was watching it and at the time I thought, I'm not going to say I saw his point, but I felt that Badou Jack had obviously been robbed against Butte, so I could understand the bitterness. But for me, I felt that it was just not managed in the right way because for me, it was a great advert for boxing. They were good
and
fights.
That's it. Just leave it there.
That's
what he had to do.
And set up the rematch. But we know
Floyd. But you know what? And people hate me
Mayweather.
when I say it. Floyd is many things, but classy ain't one of them.
Yeah.
He's not a classy dude.
Yeah,
he's not a classy dude.
That was a bad taste.
Guys,
that's to be expected.
We've got a couple more questions coming from Twitter. We've got MDad07 asking, is James's ambition still to unify the 168-pound division?
100%. Like, he's still a world champion now, and obviously when you win a world title, okay, you've ticked that box off. What do you want to do? Now you want to clean up, don't you? I want that belt. I want that belt. I want that belt. So he wants to fight all these fighters in the division that have got a belt. And James will, as James will fight anyone as long as the money's right. And now his profile's through the roof. He said, listen, I've done my bit on the road now. Let's see them come over here to England. Let's see him come to my backyard.
He has been on the road. He's like the
road
21st
warrior.
century Ken Buchanan, isn't he?
What does he think about
Mel Laguna and all these guys?
Yeah. What does he think about Badou moving up to 175 then?
Well, you heard him voice his opinion after the fight. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
And Badou Jack went very quiet and didn't really want to know. But listen, James would fight him in a heartbeat in a rematch. But he said, "Listen, come to London. Let's do it. I've come here. Now you come here."
Yeah.
And I don't think he was. He didn't jump at the opportunity.
I am struggling to understand why he can't make the weight because he looked good. It didn't look like he ballooned, through rehydration. Mate. So. And when I look at 175, and I guess we're all talking about, when I look at that division, I don't see him troubling any of the top three guys with his power. So what is it that's attracting him to that? I mean, I don't know.
He's a big guy, and seeing him on the day of the weigh-in to seeing him on the night of the fight, he's like two different human beings. Like when he was looking across the ring, he was huge. Like the shoulders on him, he was massive.
You'd feel it out.
So I don't know Badou Jack, and I'm not around him enough. But for him to come out and say it even before the fight, he said, "Look, this is my last fight at 168. I'm moving up."
There,
Yeah,
been
know,
there,
Gal.
your
Yeah.
dad's been there. Yeah. When you're dragging weight after a certain amount, you just can't be doing with it anymore. Yeah. It's time to give your body back something. And the problem with fighters that they stay at weight so long is that they're either a champion or they've battled so long to get a ranking to fight a champion. And you do silly things. You end up keeping on killing yourself. Now you got to remember, these guys, how James still makes super middleweight is beyond me, because him and Georgie, these guys, they were fighting at 75 as amateurs when they were kids. So they're still as grown-ass men, still doing around, and it was only 11-10 in the amateurs. They're only fighting £3 heavier. So for them to still get there, obviously they're walking around, I would imagine they're walking around at 13 stone, 13, 4, 30, if they're smart. Some guys are going up a bit heavier. So I totally understand why he's going up. He's had a hard fight. 12 stone. He's dragged his body to get down, because you've said he looked huge, and I thought he looked huge. He looked, I mean, as good as James looked, he looked stronger.
Yeah, he was massive. He looked a weight division above.
Yeah. So, but the financials though. So when you look at
I ain't doing that no more. Financial,
it's the money team.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's sometimes it's good sense. Yeah. You've had a good career. You've overachieved. Nobody, after getting knocked out, nobody thought you would become WBC world champion. As much as we're saying how good it's done for James in his profile, it's done immensely well for Badou Jack's profile. He's featured in. They're going to have to go some to get a better fight than that this year.
Yeah, we've got a lot of candidates.
Yeah,
anyway,
you're looking at Frampton. You look at. I mean, we've got some candidates coming up. We've got Frampton, and we've got Garcia. And,
do you think he's got any chance with someone like Adonis Stevenson?
Who? Badou Jack. Yes. I'll tell you why. Adonis Stevenson is getting older. He's been inactive, and Badou Jack is one of the most. Listen, as I said, him and James are the most improved super middleweights 100%. In the world. Shane McGuigan would argue with that. With George Groves, he's 100% believer in George, and we're going to see. But he's good enough to go to light heavyweight, because listen, when you're technically adept, Louis Del Valle don't play. When you're technically as adept as he is, he's only going to get better. You know, and now when you have the confidence, when you go up in weight and you feel confident, you feel like a man in that weight, and you know that technically you can hold your own. That's the thing. Good, that whole thing about good little men don't beat good bigger men. When you're that good in the light heavyweight division as it stands now, you could make a statement.
How would you rank him alongside, say, like Kovalev or Ward?
I mean, just to go, I was going to say, we've got a Twitter question. Is it all right if we go on just to keep the schedule? So we've got a question from Liverpool Jeff. He's asked, so we're going to move on to the Gervonta Davis fight. He's asked, could Gervonta Davis end up becoming better than Floyd, and what would he need to do that?
Well, he's got to go on. He's got to go unbeaten. Well, put it this way, right now, he looks like an exciting, probably arguably, no, I wouldn't say that, because Floyd's junior lightweight performance against Corrales was one of the fights of the ages, was one of the performance of the ages. He beat Pedraza. Let's not get, I mean, and Pedraza's a good fighter, good solid pro, but that Corrales that Mayweather took apart was a violently great fighter, was a good fighter. So that performance doesn't compare. Let's not get carried away. We're in this Twitter era where everything's 2 minutes ago. We forget about prior champions. And I'll say one thing with Mayweather, as though I don't like him as a person, as a junior lightweight, as a lightweight, and as a light welterweight, he'd have been hard to beat in history. He'd have been really hard to beat in history. So this kid's got a ways to go. We've got to see how he handles fame, how he handles being a champion. Does he train the same way as what he did becoming a challenger?
Silk sheets, as they say.
That's it, man. It's hard to get up running in the morning when you're wearing silk pajamas.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I mean, so Jimmy, what did you make of the fight? Obviously, you were in the arena. What was the buzz around him? Did you get to see much?
Do you know, we was after Gervonta Davis, but they had a screen up in our changing room, and obviously we had one eye on it, because you're obviously watching to see how it goes. If it's going early, obviously you've got to start warming up. He just looks like an absolute beast, doesn't he? Really,
he does.
And his neck. I mean, it doesn't even look like he has a neck. His head looks like it's just been planted on his body. But I know a few people that was raving about him before this fight, and
You was.
yes,
I was,
and I've not actually watched his entire fight yet, but I've seen the clips of it. I've obviously seen the knockout, and he just looks like a little mini Mike Tyson, didn't he? At times,
But he's a little Mike Tyson, but there's definitely some Mayweather flavour going on in
100%
there.
with the shoulder roll,
the
and
shoulder
then
roll, the shifting.
Yes.
Don't know who
But
showed him
he
that.
looks physically stronger than what Floyd did at junior lightweight. So we don't know how long he's gonna. I can see him going up through the weights.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, if you
as
look,
well, though. You see, I mean, he looks really short. Can you see
but
him
he's
going
got
up
that-
the weights?
I think, I mean,
I think he got up to light welter.
yeah, that would have been where I would have called it. But I think in terms of his division, I actually think where he is quite young and he's quite early in his career, I think he can actually go through a lot of names in that division. You know, if you look who's there, you got Salido, could be great for experience.
Salido would be a good fight for
You
him,
know,
'cause that would be a long test because
Sosa's an all-American
Sosa,
battle.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say it now. I don't see him having any chance against Lomachenko, the Matrix.
Nah.
I think that's a step way too far. But I think with anyone else, I don't know what you think, Nam. I think he's got a good shot.
Yeah, I think anyone else,
I think yes,
Yeah,
I think Lomachenko, I mean, because they were banned around Lomachenko, I think, that's probably just a step too far.
It's too far.
I mean, like, I just remember, like, I mean, College went to see Ashley Fiope when he fought Bronner for the £140 title.
Yeah.
And so he was over there, and I was watching the fight in the UK, and he was on the show. Gervonta Davis was on the show, and I was really impressed with the guy. Very, very strong. He's already then he was a really flashy kid, big mouth, and it just reminded me of Broner. And he took that guy apart as well. So I mean, we've known about this guy for a while, and it's that point you're raising. Is he going to keep his discipline? And go all the way to the top? Is going to become like a Broner and just
exactly.
it all up?
Because when Broner was on the up and up, he was so exciting, so good.
Yeah,
when he took part of Gavin Rees and all that, he was so good. So so obviously there's going to be comparisons. But last week I didn't know anything about the kid. I looked at BoxRec because I look at stats, and he'd beaten one kind of solid Mexican.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not enough.
Yeah.
But, boy, it was. And,
Well,
was Pedraza struggling at the weight? It doesn't matter. He dismantled him every round. I don't think he lost a
Liam
round.
Walsh's is mandatory. Liam Walsh. The Walsh brothers.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Do you think he's got any chance at all?
He deserves it. I just don't know if he's got the tactical acumen not to get hit by this kid. Because to beat this kid, you got to keep sticking him, make him miss, and make him pay. And I don't know if they. I mean, put it this way: if you need someone for Gervonta Davis to look good against again, it will be someone like Walsh who's going to be there, because Walsh will have to be there. He can't outbox him.
So for that, Gary, the way the fight went, and for listeners that remember, it started off really well. Davis was really flashy, good uppercuts, good body shots. Then it seemed as if Pedraza lost focus, and he said, "No, this is a little kid. I'm going to show him who the big boy is. I'm going to take you into the deep waters." And he started throwing a lot of combinations to the body. He was up and close, trying to rough man hustle him.
He couldn't do it at distance,
but he couldn't really do it. Yeah, and that's. So I'm asking, did he employ the right tactics? Because I think maybe if he could have waited to the 6th, 7th round, if he could have been using his jab a lot more, keeping him at range. Obviously, the
problem was, it's all right saying, right, I'm going to wait and come on, but you can't get hit in that process.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? You cannot get. It's not like, I'm going to keep coming on. If you keep getting donk, and getting uppercuts and getting all sorts. Basically, he was landing sometimes at a point 3-1.
Yeah.
You can't keep. It has an effect.
Yeah.
It's all right saying, I'm not going to get hit. I'm going to block up and smother. I'll tell you, is a great example of that. But I mean, everybody hated watching him fight, but I loved him because I knew how difficult he was John Ruiz at heavyweight.
Yeah.
With the exception of getting flattened by the Samoan, David Tua, he was always a hard fight for everyone. I mean, to the point where I was really scared for David because he had that sort of style that David Hay doesn't like, small and stocky, And so it's all right saying that, but Pedraza, he just couldn't negate what this kid was doing well.
I mean, he couldn't even switch his stances properly. It felt like he was doing it under pressure, not
But I remember
for
you
offence.
said, I'm not going to say it, it's not an excuse, he just couldn't go up the gears. Is that because of his weight, as you said?
We said Inan pointed out last week.
But did anyone think the noises that Pedraza was making? You must be. Were you at ringside when he was
I
making
was
those howling
in the
noises?
I was in the
That was bizarre. What was he doing? Why would someone do that, Gary?
No, it's
Weird,
a weird
right?
one. I haven't. Who is it?
So listen-
Some of them, they yelp, didn't they?
But he was howling.
He was howling. I mean, again, I think he was trying to play the mind
Yeah,
game
he
with
was
Davies,
just trying
and
to
it
say that
just
whatever
didn't
you
work.
land, I'm still bringing it.
Just didn't work. So we're going to go out to the lines again. So we're going to go to caller 898. We're coming out to you, 898.
Hi, how you doing? It's Shem.
Hi, Shem. How you doing?
You all right, Shem?
I'm good, not too bad,
Good.
guys.
Question or statement, Shem?
Well, statement really. I mean, back to the fight that you were just talking about. Obviously, the previous fight. I mean, Badou Jack and DeGale. I mean, that was great. That was great for boxing and great for both fighters. I do think the result was fair. I mean, DeGale started off very, very well. In the middle, I think he kind of lost a little bit of focus and sort of drifted a little bit. But the way he came back in the latter rounds of the fight, to me, was just great. You know, that was a great performance. It was just a shame about the knockdown in the 12th. But, I don't think anyone could really argue with the result. I don't think, anyone got robbed. I think it was a fair fight and fair decision, and it was good for boxing.
Yeah, I think I had it exactly how you had it, Shem. DeGale done really well in the start, slowed down in the middle rounds, came back really, really strong, 9th, 10th, 11th, that kind of, and that 12th round knockout just cost him the win.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to another caller, ending in 230.
Hello.
Hi there. Who's speaking?
Hi, guys. This is Sonia.
Hi, Sonia.
How are you doing, guys?
Not too
Really
bad.
good, thanks, Sonia.
Not too bad. How are you? Question or statement, Sonia?
Question and statement. Statement first. I think, guys, you're doing very good, and I just wanted to point out you have a great panel. The conversation is good.
Thank you.
And I think it's always worth to say it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is a bit out of what you're saying at the moment, guys. They've been talking about ITV4 that is now going to put boxing on the mainstream. There's been some good numbers about that. They have the contract and what do you think of boxing going on the mainstream now? I mean, out of Sky and what Sky has been doing. What do you think of that? Because I think it's pretty good for boxing fan, obviously. So I want to know your opinion about that.
Thanks, Sonia. We're going to put you on mute, but Jimmy's going to answer. Thank you again.
Yeah, I think it's obviously a good thing because the more channels they're showing boxing on, obviously better for the sport.
Yeah.
And obviously better for the fighters because they can get, big coverage on ITV.
Exactly.
Big exposure.
Yeah.
So having more broadcasters can only be a more positive thing for competition, for exposure. And yeah, I think it's a really good thing.
It's wonderful. Perfect. I think they've got to go big.
Yeah.
I think they've got to get a name. Like
Eubank Jr.'s not big enough?
Well, he's big enough, but they've unfortunately it was on the pay-per-view platform, and
so
you ain't giving. I ain't buying no Quinlan. I ain't buying no Eubank Jr.
That's a scam. Yeah, exactly.
For the
I'm gonna
IBO.
That's not happening.
So quickly, I'm gonna you speak.
So that's not going to happen. So, but I mean, they're going to have to sign some fighters, some headline fighters that people can start identifying with and get marketed well. But what a place to get marketed on ITV.
Household name.
As long as they do it right, it can be done. We grew up.
Exactly.
With ITV boxing, with BBC One boxing. So let's bring it back. I hope they do it well.
So thank you very much for that question, Sonia. We're now going out to 490. 490, the floor is yours. Hello,
all right,
490.
guys, Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. Can you hear us?
How you doing, Eddie?
Yes, cuz. All good.
Good.
Firstly,
Question or statement?
A bit of both.
Okay.
Question is, you guys in the background, firstly, I want to say that I had newfound respect for James after this fight because I had him winning, the first 6 rounds or so. But for me, I love the science behind what you've done with him because I was never really a true fan of him. I thought he was a bit too brash at times and he wasn't warranted. But seeing how you guys have worked on the conditioning piece, which is a major factor for him coming through this war, was fantastic. And obviously, moving forward, he's not going to have the rematch, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Are you guys behind the scenes tracking and videoing and in effect, kind of documenting the journey that you're taking James through? Because that's an inspirational piece of boxing that I saw on Saturday night. Because ultimately, you've taken a guy that clearly had issues going all the way through the rounds to someone. It was like a Rocky film. If you look at how this guy, the kind of whatever you've done with him from a conditioning piece and the strengthening, and even the little tweak that you talked about with regards to the injury he had on his groin and how that was repaired. it's very inspirational for other guys coming up, and it's a mental thing, which I saw a change in James. So firstly, that's fantastic, but I just wanted to know whether you guys are actually behind the scenes, just keeping a record of how you're training him, how the mental game that goes into boxing, because that's an important factor which will inspire a lot of the younger boxers coming through. Question out to Jimmy, I suppose.
Cheers. Thanks, Ed. We're gonna.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. Before they said like they weren't a massive fan of James, and since then like they've become a fan.
Yeah.
As to regards to like tracking all his training, my dad's kept a book for years on. He's done this amount of this track session on that time before a fight, how many rounds he sparred, and this, that, and the other. And when you've got a fighter like James, he's so technically gifted. And I remember when my dad first got him as a pro, and he said, I'm not changing you completely. He said, I'm just going to add to you. He said, because what you've got already won you an Olympic gold medal, and that is tremendous. And that's tremendous ability.
Great. That makes you a great amateur going into the pros.
Pros. And a lot of people said he wouldn't make a good pro. And because I'm with James day in, day out, and I can see what he does in the gym, he's a hard man. And he's never had to show that in a fight, simply because he's just been too good.
Yeah.
And his ability is so far in front of.
See, this is the thing I just wrote down.
Yeah.
The ironic thing surrounding this fight is that we're talking about his conditioning and how it got him through the fight, but I don't think it was anywhere near his best performance. This is I think the Durrell fight was his own, because the only reason why people are sullying the Durrell win, right? At that time, they were the two best super middleweights in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's only because Dwayne. We don't know what happened. I'd love to find out what happened in that fight where he took rounds off.
Yeah.
Was it just he went to sleep? But technically, he beat the technically best super middleweight in the world. Outboxed him, outpunched him.
Yeah.
So this fight here is, in many ways, it's going to make him so more mentally stronger, because there were so many things I thought that he was doing wrong. He did let Badu Jack unload far too much on the ropes without countering him and letting him pay for unloading on the ropes. Because his conditioning. There's some of those body shots that were sinking in. James taking, I thought, mate, his conditioning is superb. But nevertheless, he was taking these shots. He was allowing himself to get bullied. He was allowing the momentum to get carried, and he still came through and snatched rounds, even rounds where he was getting hit with his body shots.
Why was he letting him do that? Was it just trying to conserve his energy?
When I scored the first 5 out of the 6 first rounds to James.
Biased.
And just at the time, it was like, I think when his teeth got knocked out, I think it was I can't remember exactly, but it must have been about the 6th round. And it threw him for a couple of rounds. And that allowed Badu Jack to build momentum and get back into the fight. And it was like, Chunk, listen, what you doing? But he's not my teeth. Don't worry about your teeth. So he said, like,
funny that he would,
because if you watch the early part of the fight, at distance, he ain't got a chance, Badu Jack. James is pinging his head, all off. So he knew he had to shut that gap down. And with the teeth and all this madness going on, it enabled him to build that momentum, get that confidence, and start really getting in the fight. And then it was a fight. It turned into a dog fight. It weren't a boxing match. It was like, listen, let's go to war. Let's go to the trenches.
Some rounds that were special. Some of them exchanges were special.
You don't need to be in too many of them.
So listen, we're going to go out to the lines, because we've got a busy line, busy screen. So 081, we're coming out to you. 081. Hello.
Hi guys, how you doing? It's Nicholas here.
How you doing, Nicholas?
How you doing, Nicholas?
Thanks for calling, man. Yeah, we like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's question or statement?
Statement and question, really. So first of all, like a big congratulations to the DeGale team. I think what they achieved is it's an amazing. It was a great fight, great for marketing and advertising. But at the same time, obviously, I was rooting for DeGale, and I felt that the beginning of the fight, the third part of the fight, he was really up on his game, and I felt that he just lost a little bit of sharpness. So, and because of that last knockdown of the last round, even though he still came back champion, I feel like it's a lost opportunity. And then I want to know, so basically, from being within the team, do you guys feel like it's a little bit of a lost opportunity as well?
Cheers. Thanks for that, Mungo.
Thanks, Nicholas. Yeah, do you know what? At the time when the fight was done and the decision was given, obviously we went back to the change room and we was like, do you know what? If we'd have just stayed up that last round, be WBC world champion. But at the same time, Eddie Hearn come in after.
You know what I mean?
And he went
like you're only IBF champion. You're still IBF champion.
He said, James, he went, what a fight. He went, yeah, but Ed, you know, like I could have been WBC. He went, no, listen. He went, I'm telling you now, if you would have gone out, jabbed, move, jab, move, jab, move. He went, all right, so what? You've become WBC champion, yeah? But people will be going, yeah, all right, he's WBC champion, but what? It was a boring fight. People ain't interested in that. This is a business, an entertainment business. Right now, he's gone, James, your profile is 5 times as big. After being in a fight like that, you will come home and you will sell out venues anywhere you box after a performance like that. Yeah. And right now, my phone's not stopped people going, when's he coming to the UK? I've got to come. I want tickets. That's what I want to see. He showed plenty of that and showed plenty of them. Yeah. So when it let me know when his next fight is, I'm coming. So the interest since, listen, we all love a Rocky style fight, don't we? Yeah. And that was what it was. There was swings and roundabouts, and
knockdowns.
You know, he knockdowns. He got up, come back, finished strong. And people love seeing that grit. Yeah. And I think people doubted that in James. I didn't think. I think people thought, listen, he's a lovely boxer, pretty boxer, but when it gets put on him, let's see how much he's willing to dig deep. Yeah. And I think he showed everyone just how much he can dig deep.
Yeah, and we're going to go to the Jarrell fight was a distance fight. They kept each other at range and they scored succinctly, whereas this fight was closer to...
it was a war.
So we're going to go to the phone lines, guys, just because we've got a few callers. So for all the listeners, bear with us. We're going to get through to as many of you before the end of the show, and we do appreciate your support. So 266... the floor is all yours, 266.
Hello, Matt calling from Brentwood.
Hi, Matt. How you doing, Matt? Thanks for calling. First-time caller?
Yeah, first-time caller. Really enjoying the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Jim.
Perfect.
Obviously, James in the best condition of his life. Yeah. It's obviously down to you, Jim, and obviously Jim Senior and Tom McDonald as well, his strength and conditioning, and everyone in the team. Obviously known as Team Chunky. Now, you would obviously know this because you are exceptionally close to James and you do have a special relationship. Is he Team Chunky because he has a big willy or because he's very...
Well, I can't answer that.
Why are you asking that?
Because we get strangers that like to mess up the progress. But thank you very much. We're going to move to 036. That's a sign that we're getting bigger people. We're now getting prank callers. 036.
How you doing, guys? Mohammed's calling from Ilford.
Hi, Mohammed.
You're right.
Question or statement, Mohammed?
Nigel Ben territory. Both of them, actually. I'm just calling from Nigel Ben territory, if I just put that out.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, a bit of a statement. Well done to obviously the DeGale camp. What happened there, just unlucky with the fact that he went down in that last round, but I thought great performance going out there. And again,
thank you, mate.
Second, what the gentleman just said about Eddie Hearn as well. I think his profile's gone up, and I think maybe down the line I want to see that Groves and DeGale rematch again. And I think that'll sell out any arena in the UK.
Let's do it.
My only question is, I've just tuned in. I haven't heard the first part of the show, but I'm a real big David Hayes fan, and a lot of people are saying that, you know what, actually, he could get caught by Bellew. I just want to hear it from you guys. What do you think is going to happen? Because I think that Hayes will knock him out in under 3.
Good question, Mo. So I'm going to put you on mute and we're going to go to Gary because he is a friend of Hayes.
Without any bias whatsoever, and I've got so much respect for what Tony Bellew's achieved because he's an overachiever, whereas James was not scripted to be a world champion. He had the pedigree because of that Olympic gold medal, and he beat fighters. Another one, let me just go to James quickly. What I do admire about him, Jimmy, is that he beat 2 fighters that beat him in the amateurs. To go to the Olympics where it's win or get out takes a lot of doing. And Tony's overachieved. Going back to Tony, he's overachieved as an amateur. He was big punching, fat super heavyweight. He's got him disciplined enough to get himself down to light heavyweight and to fight the world's best, not be afraid to fight them, go up to cruiserweight, get dropped, get back up. But there's a Second World War movie called A Bridge Too Far, and in David Hay, he's stoked to fire that he shouldn't have done. He's asking for, I've known David for many years, and I know David's strengths and I know David's weaknesses. And if you need a fight, everybody's pilloried David for the first 2 opponents. If you need a fight to make David Hay look at his most destructive, and you needed a fighter standing in front of him, Tony Bellew is going to stand tall. He can't step in and try and bang David. Well, that's the only chance he's got. He can't hang around. If he stands around in that middle of the ring trying to stick a jab out on David and score with it, he will get hit just like he did in that press conference.
Do you think Bellew can actually hurt Gary?
I think anybody at that... I think if Bellew hit Klitschko, Fury, any of them on the button, of course he'd shake them. So they're wearing 10-ounce gloves, man. Of course he's going to hurt him. They're 10-ounce gloves, Grant gloves or whatever. When you put those things on your hand, they're like little MMA. That's the equivalent, right, of the MMA fighters wearing 4-ounce gloves. That's the equivalent. That's the power that they generate. So when people say, oh, he's chinny, you got a right to be chinny when a big man of like over 14 stones hitting you on the chin. You got a right to be chinny. You got to be a right to get shaken. Of course he can hurt David, but David will destroy him. You know, all right. Let's not give it hyperbole. If David hits him, he will hurt him. There's just there's no if. When David hits him, he will hurt him. It's going to be how well Tony recovers. They've got to send Tony out there with a completely different style for him to be successful. He's got to smother David. And I've never seen Tony do that. He's got to tuck up low and not get hit because there are going to be shots raining down on him.
So we're going to go to the lines. Thank you for your question, caller. So we're going to go out to 343. 343, the line is yours. Question or statement?
Yeah, hi, my name's Kieran. Jim, I thought DeGale fought brilliant the other night. Just a quick question. My brother basically keeps saying he wants to fight me. Have you got any hints and tips of like whether I should go into it or not?
Listen, brotherly love, just put the gloves on and sort it out, but don't tell your mother because you get in trouble.
Well done. So we're going to go out to 207.
Hi there, how you doing?
Not too bad. Hi, who are we speaking with?
I'm Kieran from Leighton.
Hi, Kieran. 2 Kierans in one night.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering if I could ask Jim a question.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah, Jim, you know, obviously James is, you know, he's world champion and obviously, you know, he's done very well for himself. And one thing I've got to ask is why does he always comes out to the song right above it? You know, like, is that his favourite song or?
Well, I suppose it's one of his favourite songs, seeing as he comes out to it all the time. But I don't know, it just gets him in the zone.
Yeah.
He's had it since I think the first fight he had that song was for the Paul Smith fight when he boxed in for the British title.
Yeah.
And since then he's switched it a couple times, but that's the one that really you know gets him in that zone and ready to fight.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I guess it's one of his favourite songs.
100%. So, on the card that night, there was another upset. Really, I wasn't too familiar with a guy called Keotev. He fought Aleem and he was knocked out in the 6th round. I don't know if you guys saw that fight, but this was a guy that was being touted as a prospect for Triple G. Looked good in spades of the fight, but actually kind of just got knocked out. And this guy Aleem is from Washington DC. He's an American fighter. I don't know, did any of you guys pay attention to that at all, or did you hear?
I didn't see. The only thing I see was the Davis fight because it was up on the screens. And when when you're in them change rooms, you're so focused. Zoned in to what's going on.
It's a different atmosphere. You know, you can't pay attention. Luckily sometimes when I was with Adam in New York or whatever, with Mikey Garcia and Andy Lee, when Andy Lee knocked out John Jackson. Adam would say to me, "Oh, just go out and see how the bouts are doing." So sometimes lose track of time. I go, I've got to run back in.
You've got to get back in.
You only see clips of fights, and then once you go back in the room, and then you absorb. It's funny. You kind of. I know it's weird, but you get a relief or release when you're out of the changing room because it is tight.
Yeah,
everything is important, you know, and so when you come out you can breathe again, but when you go back in you've got to be in fight mode because your fighter's in fight mode. He can't see you being too. They want you to be relaxed but not too overly relaxed. They want you to know that
bit edgy.
They want that edge because that's what you need. It's fight or flight time. It's fight or flight, you know. So
last call or one more caller, 060.
Yes, lads, how's it going?
How you doing? Who are we speaking with?
Yeah, Shane, man.
Oh, how you doing, Shane? Thanks for calling in again. Question or statement, Shane?
question. I joined the show a little late, so do forgive me if it's already been covered. First of all, wicked win for win. Just a draw.
Yeah.
Wicked performance by DeGale because he showed a lot of grit. The only thing is, I was thinking, I previous to the fight, I called in last week saying the same thing. I had DeGale winning this. I couldn't really, I didn't see the angle that Badu won. I didn't even think about a draw. Like, won this. Yeah, I was thinking it's a DeGale win. Basically, based on his movement, his agility, his smarts in general. Yeah, I see Badu Jack as just a plodding, I don't know, a crude example, Foreman. Yeah, he reminds me of a Foreman if I'm going to compare him to someone. Yeah, he's more of a forward. He's not as faster than Foreman and all that. But
I've got to interrupt.
I didn't see how DeGale, would struggle against him, but you didn't seem to be. I mean, what was the game plan? Because you seem to be scrapping way more than I ever thought you would ever would.
Thanks for that, Shane. We're going to put you on mute and Jim will answer.
Yeah, so, Badu Jack, in the lead up to this fight, and probably for his career, has been very underrated. He's technically brilliant. He's got a brilliant defence. He's got a good jab. He's got a good right hand to head and body. So he does everything so well, but he doesn't make many mistakes, at all. Got off to a flying start, obviously, with a knockdown in the first round. Then he come back into it, the middle. That was the start. To start fast, use your jab, be very awkward, use the angles, and it for the first 5 or 6 rounds it was perfect. Then again, the teeth come out, and and he, rather than sort of right, this is what I've got to do, this is what I've got to do. It was like, he's knocked my teeth out. He's not my teeth. My dad was going, listen, don't worry about your teeth. We'll get them put back in after. Just concentrate on what you've got to do, what we've been working on. But in that time, Badu Jack had used that momentum, used them rounds to, and it started to build his confidence. And we never underestimated Badu Jack. And if anything, after the fight, I give him more ratings after. Yeah. Because
I wonder who is your favourite fighter? You ask people if to say that Badu Jack is a plodding journeyman is like saying Sugar Ray Leonard is a plodding journeyman, right? It's because he doesn't do Mayweather type things or Lomachenko type things or Terence Crawford type things. He's old school. He's trained by old school coaches. They know how to coach. And Louis Delvaux, in the middle of the fight, brought the best out of him. He said, listen, what's the game plan? What did I ask you to do? Stick on top of him. When he punches, punch with him. Don't wait. Come back with your left hook. And it worked. It worked a pearl. And he goes, stick to that body. Stick to that body. So sometimes when you've got resilience of character, which Jack has, no matter what James was doing, there was times when he was taking flurries and he'd still just drop his knees, whop downstairs. He'd take those 3 flurries because, with all due respect, they weren't hurting him. So he's just saying, right, you ain't hurting me. I'm going to stick to what my game plan is. That's to keep working your body and come back upstairs. And there were times in a fight, obviously, because the fight being so close, it worked.
Yeah, definitely.
But to say, all due respect to the fella that rang in, to say that he's plodding journey, that's left me. Yeah, that's a bad taste in my mouth.
He's a
I'm like the Steve of Gary.
So just obviously, Jimmy. So we've spoken about the big fight, but just talk to us a bit about the stable that you're working with, the couple of fighters that you are working with in terms of training, what they got coming on the horizon, what they've been doing.
Yeah, we've got a boy called Reece Bellotti, who's he's an English champion at the moment, featherweight. We was talking earlier, Gal. You remember him from the amateurs. Yeah, he's English champion now. He beat Ian Bailey the other week, and Bailey's a tough boy.
Yeah.
So
that was at Wembley, right?
Wembley, yeah.
He was on a horror show. Yeah.
He was on that bill. So Reece will be fighting on March the 17th. What it's for yet?
Birthday.
Whether it be a defence of his English, or I don't know whether they've mentioned an international or an eliminator of some sort. We're still waiting to find out. We've got a boy, a light heavyweight, Jake Ball, who was also on that bill.
Yeah.
He lost to JJ McDonough, but
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So he can come back. This is opportunity.
He's had Christmas off. He's had a good Christmas. He's back in now.
Where do you think he can go, Jimmy?
Do you know what? I've seen Jake Ball spar. He was James's main sparring partner for the Andre Durrell fight, and James rates him highly. He said, because James is, if he's sparring with someone, if they're not up to his standard or whatever, he just thinks he has to be tested. And Jake was a GB boy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So he's got good pedigree. He was selected for the WSB, but they never ended up entering him in it for whatever reason.
Yeah. Was he at light heavyweight then, wasn't he?
He was a light heavyweight.
Well, that would have been Josh Boazzi, so he was never going to get that.
So in the meantime, we, funny enough, bumped into him in Tenerife. This was before the DeGale fight, and my dad went, he'd be brilliant sparring. So he come down and sparred, and was really happy with him, and obviously started training with us. Then he sparred Billy Joe Saunders for the Andy Lee fight. So I've seen what he can do in sparring. So what happened that night was just, it was so frustrating because he knows what he did wrong, and he's admitted it to us after. He said, like, I nailed him early, I got excited, and I walked into a shot. And
what it looked like,
you can't do it at any level because they can all punch. Especially these boys.
In the Team GB, unless you're a big like on the international amateur grade, unless you're a big banger, you don't score many stoppages. So obviously,
3 rounds.
So that's the only thing that they lack in experience when they go pro, is that if they suddenly hurt someone, which is what he did, he just run in there because he's not used to doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If he stuns someone in the amateurs, he turns his back to the referee, say, that's it, 8 count. You stun him in the pros, you've got to go in after him. So that's the first thing he's fought. And the rest is history. But as you've said, what doesn't break him will make him stronger. Now we will see
exactly
what he's about.
That's right.
So when is he out?
He's on the same bill as Reece Bellotti, March the 17th.
Where is that going to be,
I
potentially?
think it's going to be York Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, the good old York Hall.
I call it Arena of Ambition.
Exactly.
You can see some good fights there.
And then we've got one other boy. People won't really know too much about him. He's a Romanian boy. His name's Florin Cardos. He's 15-1 now. Like, he come over, I think he come over last year.
Yeah.
And
what division?
He's a light welterweight.
Okay.
He come over and he's a switch hitter. He's very, very, very talented.
But how do you plan to market him, considering he's a Romanian in Britain? Is he promoted in Europe?
He does a lot of tickets over here, and obviously promoters love fighters that can do a lot of tickets. But really, with Florin, it's just about getting people to see him, see what he can do. Because when you watch him, he can box just as good both ways, and he's like a little mini version of James, like a little mini DeGale. But as you said, Gal, to market a Romanian boy in England, it's like, well, what can he do? How many tickets he do? Like, so it's just about getting his name out there. But he's boxed a couple times down in Tolworth on a small hall show. But he just needs that little break where people can see what he can do.
He's.
We've got a couple more tweets. I think we've probably covered this already. Someone called Ryan Beatwell saying, did James expect the fight to be as hard as it was?
Listen, at that level, there's no easy fights. But I think it was just, as the fight was going on, he sort of like, he's always respected Badou Jack, of course he has. But as the fight was going on, it was like, wow, he's strong.
I sense that in the build-up with James when he's talking about it.
You knew he was strong. James needs to be... He has to have that fire in his belly, that fear. With Medina, the fight before, he was like, yeah, but Jay, he said, I'm going to batter him. I'm going to absolutely batter him.
And I can picture him saying that.
Yeah. But he was like, listen, Badou Jack's a good fighter, mate. He said, like, he went to the Olympic Games. He beat Durrell. He's beat Groves. Come on, let's be real. He beat Butte. He said, he's beat some boys.
Yes.
So he said, I'm in deep here. I'm on a Mayweather show against a Mayweather boy with 3 American judges and an American referee. He said, I've got to box at my best, otherwise they're going to give it the other way.
And I've got a tweet question as well. So it states, the doctors, what do you guys make of the doctor checking James before he went into the round, and that in terms of the balance, that was something that's new, which I also noticed.
I think the New York committee have only just sort of come in. I mean, there was questions about whether this fight was going to take place in New York or Vegas, and they weren't too sure because it was something to do with the health system in New York. As they've probably just been granted that, they're going to be extra careful with boxing.
Make no mistakes.
So I think even there was a couple of fighters on the undercard that
precisely Pedraza.
They got sent to hospital, this, that, and the other. So that obviously they was just being over cautious and just probably making sure that everything's all right.
I've got a question for you from Richard Gallagher on Twitter. He said, well, he's answered his own question, but I won't tell you what he said. I want to answer your opinion, because obviously you Team DeGale, you watch all the super middleweights in the world, and obviously these two are very familiar with you. He said, Smith versus Dirrell, who wins and how?
Do you know what? I fancy Callum Smith.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do fancy Callum Smith. The only thing is, with Callum Smith, is where he's not been tested at world level yet.
I'm going to say.
We don't know can he cut it at world level. I think he can, personally, but again, it might be the deciding factor. Will it be in the UK? Will it be in America? Does he travel well? We don't know. We're going to find out. If Callum Smith's a world-class fighter, we're going to find out.
Yeah, great fight. Great fight.
It's going to be a
it's going to be a really good test, because you're right. He's not. This is a massive step up. It's a massive step up. So be interesting to see how he carries on, because Dirrell, he's clever. He's not as active enough as we'd like him to be. He's not active both in the ring, and when he's out of it, he's just not an active fighter. When he's actually in the ring, he's like his brother. He's a punch picker more than letting his hands go. Yeah. So we've got to see that the punches that he picks, are they good enough counters for a very aggressive Callum Smith?
Yeah, very quick point. Did Floyd Mayweather find out the score around the 9th round, and was he going around shouting it out?
I heard a few rumours that, well, not at the time, obviously, because obviously there'd have been murders. But on the day we was going home, apparently Badu Jack was getting fed information and receiving what the official scores were. Wow. So obviously, knowing he was down going into the back end of that fight, he's gonna up his game. He's gonna. Going into the last round, James stays on his feet. He wins a unanimous decision. Yeah. So he knows he has to have a knockout to win. So he's going to go for it. Yeah. And unfair, listen, if we'd have known the scores going into the last round, I just said to Chad, listen, just move on your back foot. You ain't got to win it, mate. You just got to go on your back foot and you're WBC champion. But listen, it's wrong if that is the case, because... Listen, it's unfair. It's a sport. It's got to be a level playing field.
100%. That little man runs Vegas.
Yeah, and
he runs boxing. He runs Vegas. His influence is stretching to New York now.
Big time. So on that note, thank you for coming on, Jim. It's been a pleasure hosting you this week.
No problem.
Thanks.
Do you want to shout out your social media, Twitters, names?
If you want to follow me on any sort of social media. My Instagram is at Jimmy Mac Jr. Same with my Twitter is at Jimmy Mac Jr. And on Facebook, I'm just down as Jimmy Mac. So yeah, if you want to follow, just go to them pages and follow.
And Gary?
What's that?
Do you want to shout your Twitter? Oh, yeah. Instagram. I saw you on Instagram this week. Getting a bit more active.
All 10 pictures in 2 years.
You're getting them likes, girl, yeah?
I'm so rubbish. I'm training this guy from Men's Health now, and he's having to show me how to use Instagram. I was like, how do I put a picture of me and you on there? How do I do it? Honestly, I'm so rubbish. So he said, what, you teach me boxing, and I'll teach you Instagram. So I am Gary Shogun 68, SHOGUN, Gary Shogun 68, and on Twitter I'm Gary Logan 68, and you can just find me under Gary Logan as Facebook.
Perfect. And you want to do the raps on?
Twitter? Yeah, it's at Raps on TV. Follow us at Raps on TV. Instagram it's just Raps on TV, and on Facebook it's Raps on TV as well. So make sure you follow us.
Cheers, and thank you very much for all the listeners and people that have dialed in. It's been a great show. We get more prank callers. It just shows how successful we're becoming, and we look forward to speaking to you guys next week. So thank you very much from the crew and the panel, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
guys.
Thank you, mate.